Here's an idea for a new little tradition. We'll start each video with a little case unboxing. Why? Because I need an excuse to gamble. Why else? I don't even really want a kukri knife. I would sell it. Alright, let's see what we got. Yeah! This is just gorgeous. Unironically though, it's good art. It's good art. I'll give it that. In this video, I wanted to answer the question of why you play poorly when you're in Faceit or Premiere, but you play like a god when you're playing deathmatch or retakes or something that you're not, taking as seriously. So to answer this question, I want to first look at what it means to play well and what does it feel like. So I want you to think to yourself, when you're having your best moments, when you are performing at your peak, what does it feel like? Does it, A, feel like you are solving a math problem that you've written down in your head and you are continuously finding the right answers to solutions? Or does it feel like you're making choices and they're coming naturally to you and they just happen to be the right ones? Your crosshair's in the right place, you're ready for the right peaks, you're pre-aiming the right angles, all of this sort of stuff. Most of you will probably answer B. If you answered A, I'm fascinated by your brain, for one, but also I have a hard time believing that that's true. But, maybe that's a topic of discussion for later. Most of you probably realize that scenario B is called flow state. So you are essentially in a state of gaming ego death. The world isn't real to you. You're just playing Counter-Strike. Nothing matters but this game. All of the stress of the rent that you have to pay and the groceries you have to buy are gone, and you're just experiencing the game in this surreal state of simultaneous comatose and ego death, but ultra resolution. You're hyper aware and yet asleep at the same time. This is flow state. Flow state is, like sleeping, a physiological state. It's not something that we can just enter on command. For example, like breathing or moving your muscles. You can't do it. It's something that happens. But what we can do is we can figure out why it happens and try to maximize it. And we can also identify things that are going to get in the way of flow state. So these are the things that I think people, don't talk about as much. The first one, I think is pretty well categorized. There are a lot of videos about how in order to enter flow state, you have to have sort of like a meet between a low and high threshold of stress, where if you're not stressed enough, you get bored. And if you're too stressed, then you're overwhelmed and you can't think. So I think this is pretty commonly understood. I want to talk mostly about stuff that's inhibiting your ability to enter flow state, because that is usually the problem when we're talking about a player who is playing poorly due to performance anxiety. So to understand what flow state is, we have to understand that when you're in a state of flow, your feelings are usually extremely neutral. So being satisfied with yourself or being dissatisfied with yourself are both kind of cast aside, and the only thing that matters is the gun in your hand and the head of your opponent. It's just those two things. You're locked in. Nothing else matters. So, what kinds of things are very common and easy mental pitfalls that can lead us away from flow state? The first thing is thinking about performance. So if you're thinking about anything regarding quantifying good or bad, and I mean those very explicitly, like I'm playing horrible or I'm playing amazing, any thoughts like that are going to distract you from the flow state. They're not going to help you. The thing about helping your team's morale is that usually what it does is it moves the direction of the stress closer to the middle. So in that kind of scenario where everybody's really stressed out, everybody's, like playing poorly because of it, hyping up your team is a way to move things towards the middle. Rarely do people talk about a team getting too cocky and needing to calm them down. But this is another thing that happens. That's a big reason why comebacks happen so often in this game. When a team is dominating, eventually they start to get lazy. And if the other team actually has the mental resilience to make it out of that domination and stay focused and not get enveloped in sadness or stress with how they're performing, then it's very easy for them to start stringing rounds together because the other team kind of, drops the ball. This is where, genuinely, it is sometimes good to remind your team, hey guys, let's not hype ourselves up too much, let's just focus on the game. If you understand that this is a virtue you want, being in this neutral state where you're not thinking of too many judgments, we can now categorize a bunch of mental practices that are going to lead to poor performance. So when you're watching your teammate and they hit a crazy shot and you go, holy shit, this guy's cracked, and then you fail to make a crazy shot, then you feel like you're worse. And even if you are not like loudly in your head comparing yourself to somebody, the subconscious is the part that is playing the game. And the subconscious hears that you're doubting yourself, and your subconscious is now latched onto these ideas of performance and how you're playing versus how this other person is playing. If you are watching your teammate and they have horrible crosshair placement, they're not using any of their utility, and they're simply, just new to the game or having a really bad day, and you are focused on it, oh my goodness, this guy's playing so poorly, that is going to distract you from playing well. That is going to now put in your head this ideal of playing good and playing bad. And you, without trying to do this, without any thoughts in your head that you can clearly distinguish, you have placed yourself somewhere on the spectrum of good and bad. The moment that your mind places yourself on that spectrum of good and bad, you are griefing your mental. So you need to avoid thoughts such as oh, this teammate sucks so much. If you can avoid those thoughts, you're going to do so much better. Okay, so what if my teammate is actually doing something that is hurting the team? Like, what if my teammate is baiting, and it's actually kind of just losing us rounds, and nobody's running in? You need to find a way to deliver that information to your team in a way that is non-judgmental. And this goes the same for yourself. If you are performing poorly or there's something going wrong, you need to identify what it is in a non-judgmental way. If something isn't working, it isn't working. It's not because you're bad. It's not because your teammates are bad. It's just there's a thing that's not working and you need to address it. So, for example, let's say you're spectating your teammate. It's a 4v1 retake. And your teammate has not used any of their utility. It's probably not that important to be like, hey, you have full util. Now, let's say it's like a 2v2 though. It's a winnable round, but also a losable one. And your teammate has full utility and appears to not notice or not realize. You got three options. You can say nothing, which I think is the most neutral option. You can say, green, you f***ing idiot. You have full util, please use it. That's the worst option. And then you have the best option, which is, hey green, you got full util, just so you know. And if they don't use it, then it's just let it go. Let it go. It's fine. You'll survive. It's okay. Cue another game. You never have to play with green again in your life. That is how you are able to give criticism or give or suggest changes in a way that is not, going to contribute to bad mental pitfalls. There are so many little things that you can do to improve this skill. The tone that you talk to your teammates in, seriously matters. If the moment I get in a game and I hear somebody from the beginning of round one and they're talking like this, okay, so what's the plan, guys? I know it's going to be difficult for me to find mental footing in this game. I know it's going to be difficult for the team because what they're doing is right from the get-go. This game is made to be incredibly important, something that we need to stress out about, and that's going to make us play worse. In Teammate Review 2, I gave a lot of flack towards this guy for yelling callouts over and over again, and just generally yelling all of, you know, everything over the microphone. And like, maybe it's hard to understand how that's bad. Like, it's just a sense of urgency, right? And sometimes it's fine to convey urgency in your callouts. But the reason why it's so awful and, you know, grief's mental is because it places a high importance. When you're playing retakes, you are not placing a high importance on that game, and so you're not going to play well. So, let's talk about how we can make our Faceit games and our Premier games feel less important to us, and how you can perform well even in games that are actually maybe important. For example, maybe you're in a tournament and you know you've made it like very far and you are playing for money. So, the first one is to fix your Faceit and your Premier games. There's always the first option. You can remind yourself that in the grand scheme of things, these games don't really matter. I want you to ask yourself this. Do you think that Monacy is spending any mental energy or caring about the Faceit game that he played when he was level 7 years ago? The answer is no. Monacy does not care, nor was he ever level 7. Monacy was born level 10. This is a known fact. But the point is that it doesn't matter. When you treat that individual game of Counter-Strike with as much importance as you do, it griefs your mental, and you need to stop doing it. Hey, it's me from the future. There were some parts here that I thought were a little unclear, and I just wanted to clarify. When I'm talking about not caring, I don't mean not caring about the game in general. I'm talking about pulling your focus away from the Faceit game and pulling the value that you associate with Counter-Strike away from the one Faceit game and putting it towards your practice and other stuff outside of it. Care a lot about those things. Take them seriously. Take the game you're in seriously as well, but not so seriously that you stress yourself out and the people around you. I hope that makes sense. So let's talk about some cognitive reframing that's going to help you in situations where maybe this game actually is important. You know, maybe it's a qualification match that's going to get you into the next level of ESEA tournaments. Maybe it's a rank up match to finally get to level 10, and you need to perform well. What you need to do is you need to be okay with losing. How can you be okay with losing though? Losing sucks. It's not ideal. We want to win for obvious reasons. Just how are we meant to do that? You need to make stuff out of your losses. Now, a lot of people understand that this is something they should do. They're like, oh yes, I should be watching my demos when I lose. But that doesn't actually help. You have to actually take the initiative and do it. So, if you are, you know, struggling to stay calm, you know, be carefree in your games, you have to now start taking the initiative to learn and grow from your losses. Once you actually do that, once it goes beyond just the thought of, oh, I should be doing this, then you are going to start finding more consistency and more success. Because not only are you actually going to get better, but that idea of, oh, if I lose, it's okay because I will learn from it, now becomes a reality. If you simply tell yourself, oh, you know, it's okay if I lose this game because if I do, I can learn from it. And then you don't learn from it, your reward system and your mind understands that you're not actually learning. It understands that at that point, the options only are win and get your elo or lose and lose your elo. The most obvious way to address this, and in my opinion the best, is just watch demos when you lose. If you lose a game, pull open the demo, you don't even have to watch the whole thing, and just notice what went wrong. Say, you know, here I was holding this angle and it didn't work out, or, you know, was it a mechanical failure? And then take action, do something that's going to fix it. Let's say it's a mechanical failure. Recognize what scenario gave you trouble. Were you getting peeked? Were you peeking? And find an exercise that addresses it. If you peeked an angle and failed to kill somebody, open up a pre-fire map. If you were holding an angle and you failed to kill somebody, well, in CS2, you probably shouldn't have been holding an angle. You should probably have been jiggling it. But, you know, find a aim scenario on an aim trainer that will improve your tracking and make your tracking better, you know? Not only is this going to help resolve your mentality, but you're also just going to get better faster. So it's solving the problem and making you better in 2 ways rather than just one. Maybe you heard that and you thought, damn, Shorty has the infinite wisdom. This is some genius level shit. And to that I would say, I got it from a book. A lot of people, you know, they're hesitant to share their sources. Not me. I'm gonna give them right to you. Basically everything in this video that I've talked about has been adapted from, and you know, I've put my own kind of spin and experience onto it, but has been adapted from a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. It's probably a good chance you've heard of it. You've probably definitely heard examples used from the book because it's very prominent. It is a sports psychology book that talks about the practices of Buddhism and their application to the medium of tennis. Now, if you don't play tennis, doesn't matter. It applies to any sport, any esport. I have found that it applies to stuff that is like completely outside of the realm of sports. So like, for example, I make music, and a lot of the philosophies I found applied to that world of producing electronic music. So if you are interested in learning more about this subject, I will link a PDF to the book below. It is poorly scanned, so there are some typos. You'll just kind of have to infer what the original content was in that case. But, you know, it's a very good read, and I think you will improve a lot from it, more than you will from, you know, me yapping at you about the stuff that I picked up from the book. Hello, it's future me. I don't know why I said it's a very good read. The guy who wrote it is a total meathead. I would actually even say that it's written poorly, but the contents are just good. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like getting a package that was all beat up, but what's inside of it was amazing. The guy was not an author, and you can tell. Don't let this persuade you away from reading it. I just don't know what I was talking about when I said it's a good read. It's kind of objectively a bad read, but you'll learn a lot from it, so you should check it out. You should. I'm not trying to convince you not to read it. I just thought I'd add that. I have one final piece of mentality advice that a lot of people would probably, you know, bat their eyes at and say, "Oh, this is cringe. This is gay. This is some weak stuff." But genuinely, if you are a hateful person, and I'm not just saying this because it's like, you know, because, you know, I'm woke or whatever. Like, it will genuinely, it'll make you perform worse in life. And this applies even if like you're like actually logically justified in whatever beliefs you have. It doesn't matter like who. If you are holding a lot of animosity towards people, you're just going to have a harder time being happy, and you're going to have a harder time playing. Right now, I'm pretty excited about the channel. I know it hasn't, you know, gotten anything too crazy, but I feel like with the positive reception I've been getting, we can create a community here in Counter-Strike that is friendly, that is loving, that is fun to be in, that cares about people. We care about each other, care about the game, and I think that's something the game, you know, needs a lot more of. A lot of the game's community pisses me off a lot, and, you know, that's just like, people act a certain way online, and the way that they act is usually cringe. And that's just, you know, kind of how things go. But I want to really make a good positive impact on this community, because this is the best game ever made, and I just think it deserves so much better. There are so many insecure freaks online, and specifically in Counter-Strike, that just sour taste in my mouth. And I want to do my part to, you know, kind of undo that, and, you know, make a sphere in this game where people are happy, people are not coming after each other all the time. If that's a philosophy that you think is cringe or gay or whatever, like, go ahead, you know, tell me about it in the comments. I'll have a fun time owning you. and it'll boost my engagement, so please go ahead. If that's something that, you like to hear and, makes you feel like you want to be here, then that's super good, and I'm happy to have you. I strongly stand behind all of these philosophies, and I believe that if you follow them, you will not only get better at the game, but you will also enjoy yourself while playing it a whole lot more. Um, and that is going to, as well boost your performance. Because when we're happy, when we're enjoying ourselves, we are just more likely to play well. That's all I have for you. If you made it to the end of this video, that's pretty impressive because that was a lengthy yap session. And that's a pretty good sign for you because, it means you're willing to listen to some bitch yap at you over the internet for 20 minutes in order to get better at Counter-Strike. So, good job. Consider subscribing. Give me a like. Check out the links that I have in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you guys for, the good words in the comment section. It's been a treat. With that, I'm out of here. Peace out.